What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Learn It Live. Today, this is gonna be a fun episode, I think, for all of us, to look inside the guts of a WordPress site. You know, we compare and talk a lot about how Webflow is better than WordPress, and we've done a lot in the past, kind of looking at why and what's up with that ecosystem. But today, we're gonna actually look in and see what it is that, you know, drives, you know, what is powering 45% of the internet, right? What makes it so good? So we're going to look at that. We're going to compare some of that to Webflow. I don't know, Joe, what are your thoughts here as we get into the beginning?
Well, I'm excited because I don't know too much about this, and I'm actually going to pull up a comment quick from Brian, and Brian says exactly why I'm super excited about this episode. I think this is a great topic when speaking to potential clients about the switch to Webflow. I remember when I was pitching clients on moving from WordPress to Webflow, knowing more about that WordPress platform is going to help that sale. It's going to help that potential migration. So yeah, that's why I'm excited. Nice comment, Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to try one thing on your camera here because we're getting that little switcheroo there. Let's see if that works a little better. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with that. Ryan, we're dropping. Yeah, I'm so, Brian, I think we hopefully just fixed that. We're getting a little lag on Joe's side, but hopefully that'll normalize out as we go. This is something that comes up a lot in this community, in this ecosystem. So we're going to look at that and just kind of go through a bunch of stuff. So we got a couple disclaimers. We don't usually have disclaimers on Learn It Live episodes, but before we get into disclaimers, let's jump through a couple things, just a couple things we want to make sure everyone knows about. The Global Open House is coming up March 24th. We're going to bring this up basically on every live stream until the event. So we announced the panel on Tuesday. Going to be a great panel. We've got a bunch of breakout sessions with lots of leaders in the community. This is one of the most fun events of the year in my mind. It was a blast last year to kind of get to interact and hang out with folks. And so check that out. Go to global-meetup.webflow.io to get more details about that. So what was next? Oh yeah, updates to the browser extension. I don't know. It's asking me to log back in. Let's see.
Browser extension. We have a really nice update that we've just added. It's in the client first tab, and this is going to be a pixel to Rem migration tool. And what this means is it's going to convert your old project that was built in pixels completely to Rem. We're going to search the style sheet. We're going to search all the interactions, and anytime there's a pixel value, it gets converted to Rems. So we've been finding that we can actually convert our older projects much more easily to client first in just a few minutes.
Nice.
This is an awesome tool. If you've worked in pixels, you got to go to Rems.
Yep.
So that's why we released this.
Yeah, and if you haven't noticed while you're working there, you'll see there's a little red dot on that browser extension. That means we're live right now, and so you can see. Otherwise, it'll just kind of notify you of what the next event is. But when we're live, you'll get that little red dot. So yeah, anytime you see that, jump in, catch us in the stream. That will be cool to kind of keep everyone up to date. So just a couple updates there in that browser extension. And then the last thing we wanted to talk about was this productivity series that we've released recently. Every day this week, we've essentially released a video about how to increase your productivity in Webflow. Emmanuel's done a great job with that. This was a super cool tip to clean up your assets panel. I think some of y'all know about this, but this is one you should definitely check out. These series, there are all sorts of little tips and tricks for how to just work better in Webflow. So anyway, those are things you should check out. We're going to jump into this user portal in just 1 second here, but let's run through these disclaimers. At the beginning, I want to say that I am no longer a WordPress expert. A few years ago, I would have called myself a WordPress expert. I don't think that applies anymore. I haven't built a new site in WordPress in probably a couple years now. Let's see. Yeah, at least a year and a half, 2 years now. I have a bunch of sites that I have built in the past. We're going to look at some of those. We'll look at my personal site is still in WordPress. I'm sure there are more efficient ways to do some of the stuff I'm going to show you today. I'm going to try to focus on just like out of the box WordPress stuff, but we will then look at my back end and see how that compares. And that's where I think things will get interesting. But I just wanted to be clear that I'm no longer a WordPress expert. If you are a WordPress expert and you're watching this now and into the future, we're going to try to be as fair as possible to WordPress. But if you think any of this was not fair, or you think like we misrepresented something, we would love to have somebody from WordPress come on the show with us. We have not found anybody willing to come and do like a side by side. We'd love to have you build in WordPress, we build in Webflow, and kind of like compare some of that stuff to give it a real fair rundown. So anyway, if that's you, leave us a note in the comments or reach out on DMs. We'd love to bring somebody in for an episode like that. So disclaimer number 2, Joe.
Before we get to disclaimer number 2, I'll share my experience with WordPress. I'm also not an expert. I used WordPress maybe for 4 months on the Divi theme. So I know it just enough where I know I don't like it. But I do have a little bit of experience, nothing close to Raymmar.
Yeah.
So I'll be here, I'll be, communicating with the community, and yeah, this is going to be a cool episode.
Yeah.
Disclaimer 2, WordPress can mean a lot of things. Just like I said, I use the Divi theme, which is totally different than if I'm using Elementor or if I have a custom thing. So WordPress can mean so many different things. It depends on the plugins. It depends on the framework. And there are so many tiny nuances that can happen with all of those different variations. And did I miss anything with that one?
No, it's just like, people say, oh, I know WordPress, but like, well, do you really? Are you a developer? Are you a theme modifier? Do you work in one of these frameworks? Right? Like I used to work with a certain number of themes or, these certain tools. And like, for me, that was WordPress. But then somebody called me and they'd be like, hey, I have a WordPress site. Can you help me? And I would open up their WordPress install and it's completely different than what I'm used to. And I don't know how to use their tools. Right? And so we're going to show you how some of that discrepancy can happen today, why those plugin ecosystems, why it's powerful, but why it also can be limiting. And so we're going to jump into all that. So the other thing we wanted to mention is why you should be interested. So Joe, you mentioned this at the beginning, but you should want to be well-rounded, right? You should not just need to know about Webflow. You need to know about the ecosystem, right? So you need to know WordPress is probably your biggest competitor in the space. And we're going to just lay some of that out. So Joe, any other thoughts on that disclaimer there? And then maybe into the audience prompt.
Can I bring up the comment again from Brian?
Yeah.
I'm just too excited about that one. We have now our full watch count coming. Brian says, I think it's a great topic when speaking to potential clients about the switch to Webflow. This is so important. If you are pitching Webflow and someone's coming over from WordPress, the more you know about WordPress, the more you can assist them in that migration. The more you can explain to them why WordPress may not be the best decision for them and why Webflow is the right decision.
Yeah.
So this isn't necessarily your onboarding into WordPress as a platform. This is, let's understand what WordPress is all about here.
Yeah. Let's say what's up to Jay and Maria and Christopher in the house. Eric, what's up, everybody? Gabe is in the house. Aida, Brian, we already said. Maria, Tanette. Hi, Tanette. Shout out to Tanette for sending us some cool little letterhead. I used that the other day, and I was like, oh, hey, Tanette, there you are. So that was super cool to see and get that. She sent both Joe and I some letterhead, custom letterhead, and that was a lot of fun. So shout out to her. Caleb is here, super interested in this. I've never had much of an understanding of WordPress, just enough to stay away from it. Yeah, so this is a good look, right? This is going to be one of those moments where we look in and we just get a good look at what the competition is doing and how that stuff works. So let's just get right into this here. We're going to start with the WordPress dashboard. Now, how it's going to work is I've got like this setup. Joe is going to monitor comments and kind of ask questions from like a Webflow side, right? What a Webflow client might be thinking or what somebody coming in might, ask. And so if you have questions, any thoughts about what we're looking at, feel free to jump in and ask those questions. Joe will translate that over to me. We'll bring them up on screen. Like we usually do, this will just kind of run back and forth. We have an outline. We have a lot of stuff we want to show you, but we'd rather, make sure we're serving you all as an audience. So if there's something you want to know, make sure you leave it in the comments. And let's just start out. Like what we're looking at here is, first of all, let me log out actually, because I want to start with who this is and what this is and talk a little bit about how WordPress basically is decoupled from, like the platform itself is decoupled from your hosting. And so the first difference you're going to find in WordPress versus like Webflow is like Webflow handles the hosting with the platform unless you export the content. With WordPress, you almost always have to have a host, right? You always have to have a host. Like there is no hosting involved. unless you're dealing with like a WordPress.com or whatever. We'll talk about that. So I've used WP Engine in the past. This is what we're going to log into. They claim to be the #1 platform for WordPress. Maybe that's outside of WordPress.com. I don't know. You know, they got some big clients here, 1.2 million websites. That's a lot of sites. I don't know how many websites Webflow has, but I would imagine it's close to that number. Maybe it's twice that number. So we can see here that just one WordPress host is close to the size of like what a WordPress is from a scale of like number of websites. And so that just puts things into context. So let's log in here. I do have a, let's see. I have a premium hosting account with them, which allows me up to 10 installs. And we're just going to start with like, let's look at what it means to add a new site. So I'm going to add a new site here. I get some options. Okay, this I have 8 of 10. The site is transferable. No, we don't need to do that. Let's start with a blank site. Let's just keep it easy and we'll just go next. We'll call this test site. We'll call it test site, you know, learn it live. Okay, this is going to be a production site. And what do I need to do here? This site name is unique. What did I mess up? Only letters and number. Oh, I can't leave the space. What happened there? Okay, learn it live 3. Do I need to put a random number? Okay, there we go. No, it still won't let me. Add site, learn 5, 3, 4, 5. Production state. Well, I'm not sure why it won't let me. Random staging site. Okay, it's still not gonna let me add the site. Site name is unique. Okay, test site 23. There we go. There we go. My name was not unique. Okay, so success, radio, M staging, whatever I call it is being built. You will receive an email as soon as it's ready. So first thing we notice is that it's not like an immediate setup, right? When we go into Webflow and we, you know, go to our dashboard, let's go to our dashboard here. And let's say I want to add a new site. Literally from here, blank site, Raymmar's fresh site. If I create the site, it opens me up into, you know, the environment here. So let's go back and see. Let's refresh the page. I think it'll tell me when it's ready if I refresh the page. Let's try to go into it. Random staging is being built. Usually takes a few minutes. Okay, so right off the bat, that's just one of the discrepancies. Like these servers got to propagate, right? So this is creating the backend. What this is doing is like a one-click WordPress install. You used to have to go in manually and set this up on a server. Now most hosts offer like this one-click install. There are also things like localized development environments where I can set this up on my computer. So again, maybe there's faster ways to do this, but right now, this is the #1 WordPress claim to be, WordPress host. I'll just keep refreshing this. Actually, I'm gonna go back.
And
go ahead.
I have a question. Would you say that most hosts have this type of process?
Yeah.
Where you create your site like that, and then
every host I've ever experienced has something like this. So I actually set this environment up yesterday, just in case this took a long time. So this is literally a brand new install with this test site here. So we're going to jump into the back end of a WordPress site. And so many of you maybe have not seen the back end of a WordPress site. Maybe you have some experience. I'd be interested to know, let's see, exploring the guts of a WordPress website is like exploring the Amazon forest without navigation. Yeah. Okay. So this is it. This is what you see every time when you get into WordPress. You've got your kind of controls on the side here, on the left side. And you can see like it's just kind of a cluster mess in here. And this is a clean install. When I show you the back end of like a legacy install, you're going to see how much changes here, because if we go to the plugins, I don't have, oh, I think I added like just a couple, you know, this classic editor, a couple custom things that we're going to look at here. But yeah, so this is it. And you'll see like I only have posts, right? So I have different types of posts here. I've got pages, and we're just going to click around a little bit on this dashboard and look around and see what's in here. Comments, so comments come baked in because WordPress started as a blogging platform, but because it started as a blogging platform, you see here that it's just posts. You know, like I don't have, like if I wanted to create, like I created this movies category yesterday, but if I wanted to create like a new custom post type, like I created this and I was trying to figure out how to add like fields to this. And, you know, like when I add a new post type, like let's say we wanted to start, this is not, leave this. Let's say we wanted to add like a new type of post, right? So let me go to tools, Settings, where's my custom post types? See, I don't even know how to do this to create. Let's go back to the plugins real quick. Plugins, custom post types, enable auto updates. Yeah, so I don't know, right? If I want to go to Webflow and create a new collection, I just come in here and I create a collection, and I can create, you know, we're all familiar with this, right? If I wanted to create blog posts or authors or categories, whatever it may be, we can just see it right here and add the fields. But in WordPress, to create these new custom post types, oh, there it is, custom post types UI. Derp. So everything kind of gets added to the sidebar, and this is where it can get really confusing in WordPress as well, is that the sidebar just keeps like adding and adding with different stuff, and it's like hard to keep track of where everything goes. And it's one of those things where it's like so powerful, but it's so much, right? And you can see it's always bogged down with like, you know, different things. Everybody inside of the dashboard is always trying to advertise to you, trying to stick things in front of you. And so let's create like a custom post type inside of here. Go ahead.
I have a question about this. So this is a plugin, which you're looking at right here.
This is a plugin. I had to install a plugin to create custom post types. So if I go here to plugins and I deactivate this custom post types plugin, you see I lose that little control on the side, and now my movies disappeared. So without a custom post type plugin, and again, there may be a more efficient way to do this. I'm not, like, there's other tools that you can create custom post type more effectively, but it's not built in, right? So you need to be using a framework. You need to be using a tool. You need to have something else that helps you create something other than a blog post. So if I wanted to come in and add a new blog post, I can always do that in here, but not necessarily like, you know, anything else. So if I want to do that, again, I have to go to plugins. I have to activate my custom post type plugin, and then I can come down here and say, like, let's say I want to create a new one, and this one might be recipes, you know? And, oh, recipes, let's see, this goes plural, and this is recipe.
So post type, this is like a category.
This is a collection. This is like a collection. Okay. This is the equivalent of trying to create a collection. So in Webflow, when I want to try to create a collection, I literally just come in, create a collection. I can define those fields here, and that's what we're trying to do right now. Let's see. We can. Let's see. I'm wondering if we could get to a little bit bigger screen for folks here. Let's do this, and then clear this.
Maybe, can you give a zoom?
Yeah, let me zoom just a hair here.
We have a question from Penny. Is this on Gutenberg or is this Classic?
So I have both. I have Gutenberg installed here, but I also have Classic to go back and show. So we'll look at both of those. Also, Victoria, I know you're following along. We're kind of jumping off script here, so the titles are probably going to be all over the place. Let's talk a little bit about how this is set up, right? So in WordPress, the competition is around hosting, the plugins, which we're looking at here, which we'll look at in a second, and then services and development, right? So kind of like, you know, the same thing as a Webflow ecosystem, except for, you know, the hosting. There's not a lot of competition for Webflow hosting if you're using the CMS or any of that functionality. So, all right, so we're gonna jump. Let's go ecosystem. We're gonna skip through that. Okay, new process. We talked about that. WordPress dashboard. So. The power here and the power with WordPress comes in with themes, right? So let's take a look at the themes, because this is really where the value of WordPress or a Squarespace or anything like that comes in, right? It's in the ability to change the entire look of your site with one click. In Webflow, you have to manage all your global styles. You have to like customize the responsiveness, the different breakpoints, all of the different stuff. In WordPress, that usually happens with a theme, right? And so in WordPress, you have like, you know, the themes that are native installed every year. There's the 2019, 2020, 2021. So every year WordPress kind of installs a default theme or releases a default theme. And then this Genesis block theme is like a, you know, like a very popular, very vanilla framework that a lot of people like to customize. They also have, which is, let's go, where's my themes? Where's my link to the themes? There we go. So 430 million theme, you know, when you search for WordPress themes. WordPress has a huge theme directory. So here we see they have 9,343 free themes. This is kind of like the clonables, right? So a lot of times in Webflow, you know, people go and they explore the showcase, they buy a template, they kind of, you know, buy something that's pre-built. And again, you have full complete control. In WordPress, you don't. You pick a theme, right? So you would look at a theme here. You might be, they show you how many downloads, whatever. A lot of people, like to go to secondary marketplaces. So you go to, something like Theme Forest, and you have, like thousands and thousands of other themes. And so I used to come to places like this, and I would click on something, and you go to like a live preview. And so we would go see, okay, what does this site look like? And I would know that, okay, I could get a site that looks somewhat like this by installing this theme, but I never knew, like, could I go and like actually install this? Could I modify it? Could I customize it? How hard would it be to customize? And let's look why that is, because when we go into the site here and we try to like build a new page, right? Let's go into, let's see, new page. And we're just gonna use this Genesis theme. This is the stock theme. So if I try to create a new page, every page starts to look the same, so new page. And let's like try to add some content here. So we're gonna add some content, and it's kind of like, dragging your elements from the Webflow space, but not really. You have these pre-built layouts too. This is all new. Like all this Genesis block stuff is new to me since I stopped with WordPress. I was still using like the legacy stuff, but this is again like some of those pre-built layouts. And this is one of those things that, now you can just drop, different blocks into your place here. So like, let's do some more layouts. Let's maybe like put this whole profile section in there. Let's just add that. There we go. And so now you get like these different sections, and that's where you can change, your text. Like this is updated text. And so I can like move that up or down, maybe I can drag it. Can I drag it too? I don't know. Yeah. But it's a lot less, like it's not what we're used to. This is where, again, the value of WordPress versus Webflow, like being able to come in here and, yeah, maybe I dropped a block in from, from a client first template or from a flow base or something like that. And I want to be able to like modify it. Well, here you're always limited into what you can kind of add. And like, sure, I could stack some sections or some, I can save some favorites and I can stick some things in here, but I don't have full control of like these columns here unless I get into one of those oxygen builders or one of those, like Elementor themes. And we're not going to get into that because that would really show my lack of knowledge, I think. And that's where you get into some customization. But I did want to show, we will show like some of their interfaces and what the promises they make. And I wanted to point one thing actually, design, let's see. We just reached, no, where's that link? Web creation, because they just started hosting, where is it? I have a link for this. I'm going to pull this up a little bit later. Hang on. Because I have a link. And one of the things they claim is to remove the technical complexity, right? So it's like they're claiming to remove the technical complexity, but I wonder like who's going to get that better, right? Somebody who's got to deal with all the WordPress technical debt, or somebody who can start from scratch, And so this is one of those things where like a lot of these companies in the WordPress ecosystem are very innovative, but they're still dealing with the technical debt of having to work with WordPress, this legacy system that was built as a blogging platform that is scaled, and it's super customizable, but you still have to know what you're doing. Like, look how hard it is to come in here and like, okay, X that out. I want to change update a new picture, select, from a media library. I don't know what we're going to put in here. Let's see, images, let's find something. There we go. Who knows how big that picture is? It'll take like a year to upload. Okay. All right, so we just updated an image. That didn't seem too hard, but like, what if I wanted to change the order of these? Like, what if I didn't want it to be vertical and I wanted like this to be on the side? How would I'm not sure how I would like edit that alignment.
How would you change the size of that?
Oh, the size of the image?
Thumbnail. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's try. Columns, group. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know.
One thing that I do like about Webflow is this ability to see the CSS, and I feel like this is further abstracted away from the CSS.
Yeah,
I see some options here, but I mean, just the fact to change the size, that should be right in front of us.
All right, so additional CSS classes. Yeah, again, this may be something that like if somebody knows how to do this is immediately obvious, but it doesn't feel like intuitive. Like if I wanted to add another like if I wanted to like, can I duplicate this? Let me see, duplicate. Does it put it next to it or above it? Okay, but what if I wanted those next to each other? Like, do I have to come in here and maybe like, okay, wide width, full width, align center. Okay, what if I wanted to add a column?
Add a two
Two
column from
block,
the.
let's see, add a column, columns. Let's see, two columns, there we go. And then do I just grab this block and put it here? There we go, let's grab this and put it there. Oh, there we go, okay.
All right.
Take this guy and we'll grab it and put it up here. Okay, so we all know how this is the thing that's like it's and Webflow can be intimidating like that too. You know, when you try to drag and move stuff, and you know you're maybe not doing the most effective way. And there it goes. Okay, we got it to drop. But can I get it to go vertical? Like, what if I want? So it just picks that layout, and it may be that's due to the theme, right? So again, it does things for you, right? And I bet if we go responsive on this, I bet like it will automatically adapt for us. Like we don't have to worry about these breakpoints. I bet it'll stack these at a certain point. There we go.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of that, like you don't have to do that, right? I don't have to come in here and tell it because the theme handles that stuff. But again, you have less control. So as we compare that versus like if I was trying to do this, you know, in Webflow, you could, you know, I'm not going to do it because should we just try to rebuild this? That might take too long.
I have a question. Is this like building a static page, or are you building something like a template page for your custom post?
Right now, I'm building a new page for the website. So this could be like the home page.
Okay.
Right? But that's the crazy part about WordPress is that because it's all built off of the post type structure, let's go ahead and save this, save as draft. And then let's go back to our dashboard and then let's try to add a post, right? Because that was a page. So now we created a home page as a draft. Right, let's go try to create a post inside of here, which will add a new, and you see it's giving me the exact same like interface, you know. So like, I have to do the same thing, and then maybe I have a saved layout, right? Maybe I have something in here that's like my blog post, you know.
Sure.
So then I would have that blog post saved, and every time I would come in, I would have to like adjust that template. And again, maybe there's a way for me every time to do my post to have it give me another look, but everything in WordPress is the same thing. Everything is a post. Everything is a post type. So when I'm creating a custom post type, if I want movies or recipes or anything else, I have to create a custom post type, which is not native to WordPress, which is like where part of half of this complexity comes, you know? Yeah, and that's, you know, the custom post types is it's one of the most complicated things about WordPress in my mind. Right, again, everything here was built as a blogging platform, so everything's the same, right? If we look at the pages, even if we look at like go ahead.
Before we move on to the pages, I'd love to bring up a comment from Frank.
Yeah.
And Frank, I may have to call you out on this statistic here. The reality is that 99.9% of WordPress websites are built with page builders like Oxygen or Elementor. So what you're doing right now doesn't represent the reality of WordPress developers.
Yeah, that's not true.
I can't imagine that's correct. And I can't imagine that percentage is anywhere close to 99. If you look at any large site, any serious, close to enterprise level site, they're probably not using a page builder. And Raymmar, please continue that answer.
They're using a custom theme, or this is not true at all. So I know right now companies that have, like I've posted about, you know, like seeing the struggle of trying to like edit a WordPress site, and it's because of a theme. Like let's do one thing. Let's go into like a site that I'm more familiar with, which is like my personal site, instead of logging into a dummy site here with a blink install that I'm not super familiar with. Let's go back to my sites here and let's open up something I am familiar with. I would disagree 100% with this. I think that a lot of people, so we just saw right there, Elementor has like 5 million sites. I don't know what Oxygen has, but let's say they have the same amount. That's 10 million sites. Like the number, there's like 60 something plus million sites in WordPress, which means the majority of people are not actually using those tools. Most people in WordPress use a theme. They go and tuck their content, like very much like Squarespace. They go, they buy a cool theme that they like, and then they go in and customize that theme or try to like stack some stuff inside of the theme. Yeah, I think a lot of people who are trying to achieve Like I would have been the person that went to Elementor. If I hadn't found Webflow, I was looking at Elementor and Oxygen. I was just starting to learn those tools when I found Webflow, right? And so some people either decide to learn and stick with the tool they know and go into WordPress with something like Oxygen or Elementor, or they make a jump to Webflow to get full design control. And I think that's like, you know, that's the real jump. So let's go into the dashboard here. And I'll show you, like, let's look at a page that's built. Like, let's look at let's look at the home page of this website. And like here, we'll see just difference, you know, like, right. So we've got forms, we've got updates. It's telling me I got 40 updates to do here. But let's go to my sites. This is site. Why is it doing that? Okay. WP-admin. So the typical way you go to your WordPress admin is you go to the website and you give it a / WP-engine or WP-admin. That's weird. It's telling me my last login was 2018, but I was logged in last night, so that's wrong. And you'll see right off the bat, like all the things I was telling you about on the side. You see how this sidebar is so much bigger than that other one we were looking at. Like if we go over to this site, you can see there's just a few things here. We're here. Let me give it that zoom in that we had on the other site. Here we have like so many more things. We have all the different comments. So it gives you a, you know, like a little stat, 249 posts, 2,000 comments, 113 comments in moderation. But let's look at the front end of this, and then let's look at the page itself and see how that's built. Let's clear the comment. Brian Fitch is saying, yeah, Sam was taking a deep dive in Elementor before I found Webflow. Yeah. All right, so edit front page, advanced layout builder. So this is what a lot of people were using. Like I think there's probably more people using something like this than is using Oxygen or whatever. This is very common to like how WordPress was before Oxygen, before Elementor. There's a lot of legacy sites, right? So this is a very familiar instance. I think if you had a client come to you and they had a site that was 3, 4, 5 years old and they wanted to move to Webflow, this is like you could find something exactly like this, right? So let's do this. I want to view the page in a new window so we can like look at it side by side and compare like what the section is designed on the front and what it looks like. So got it. I use cookies. That's a plugin. That's you know, another plugin on the back end. So these designs here, right? It's a headline rotator. So, you know, this is a tool that's built into this theme. So if I wanted to add something like this, I would just come in here and add a new element from up here, content elements. There's probably like, where's it at? Headline rotator somewhere in here. And I would just drag it into this little section. It didn't take. I'm gonna start messing around and mess up my actual live website. So there we go. Like I wanted to add blog posts up there. I just drag the element down and then I can say display blog post, or I can say display 10 entries from a custom taxonomy if I had, you know, custom post types in here. And so instead of like binding the data directly, typically you pick, you know, certain things and display the blog post in a certain category. You pick your layout, grid layout, list layout, right? So again, we're abstracted away from the page where we're not just knowing what's in the back end and we're linking it to the page data. We're connecting it through another mechanism, right? This is just an image that's sitting here. So I upload a static image. Do I want to display copyright information? Do I want to have captions? Okay, you know, styling. So I can pick no borders. Do I want it centered, left, right? So instead of thinking about what's the CSS properties here, how am I centering this? What is it, you know, a child of? You know, how is this acting? Image fade animation, right? So now I can set the animation right here. How do I want those things to come in? You know, do I want it to link anywhere? Do I want this thing to be responsive? So instead of hiding global breakpoints, etc., I just come in and I have options to control all of this inside of here. So this is like, this is what we talk about when we talk about abstracting away complexity, you know, and like putting you in more control visually of the stuff on the page. Like there's no, again, we're not in an Elementor, we're not in a, you know, the Oxygen builder, but You know, here we can just see like it's a column layout here. I have no real control over this other than saying how many columns I want in this container here, you know?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What about this install would still be true and still be affecting the site if you did have Elementor? Let's say the site that we're on right now, full Elementor build.
Yep.
You know, what else am I experiencing as a Webflow user, as a WordPress user?
So what happens then is basically you get taken out of this experience. And I think there's other ways I can even do this here. Like when I click this like page view, you see how it kind of like gets rid of the WordPress interface and it goes into like its own little full screen deal here. So Elementor would just be a theme that you'd install here. And then it would basically put you into that environment that gives you a little bit more customization, right? So it would give you a little bit more, you know, like options for styling. We can do that. Like I think this is where it'd be cool to have somebody, if you're watching this and you're an expert with Elementor or Oxygen or one of these more modern, you know, builders, I think, you know, like that would be cool to go in and look at some of that. I'm not going to, let's close that here, go ahead.
And to be clear, Elementor is really for creating front-end layouts. This has no significant effect on the way that templates are created or posts are assigned to templates. It's just, let's create this custom web page, but you still get everything else that happens in WordPress.
Yeah, you're still, that's where all of these, no matter what, you're still dealing with the core of WordPress. What we went and set up and this base install, like that's it, no matter what, no matter like, so let me show you real quick. I want to do one thing. Let's go to this plugin and I want to do classic editor. I'm going to activate the classic editor. So we saw when we came here to create a new post or a new media or new anything, we get this kind of interface with this. This is what they call Gutenberg. This is their blocks layout. This is the most like, this is the newest thing in WordPress. This is like what everyone's raving about, is that everything's kind of like block based and, you know, you can add different stuff here. But a lot of people don't like this. A lot of people do not like this. A lot of people, what they're doing is they come in and they go to the classic editor, they activate this, and now let's go create a new post. And I'm going to get the traditional WordPress experience. And this is literally it. And so this here, if I had a theme installed or a visual composer or one of the other like Aveda theme, Divi theme, like all these other themes that are more like this other one that I have installed on my site, then I would get this. Right? So instead of the blocks, I get this kind of layout builder. And what Elementor is, what Oxygen Builder is a like, it's just this, but on steroids. So when I was doing my WordPress progression, I started finding themes and things like this. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I have a little bit more control of just going to get a theme and putting content in the places they already have it. But I wanted more. And so these themes, these visual site builders, these Enfold, Divi, Aveda, like all these like really robust themes came out. And so that was like entry one. And then Oxygen and Elementor started kind of coming into the space. And that's where you got another layer on top of it. And that's where I was like, there has to be something better than this, right? And that's again where I started finding, oh, Webflow gives me complete design control. I don't deal with any of this. You know, when I get into my Webflow site, I'm literally just, you know, on a blank canvas. I don't want to save changes, discard. You know, just blank canvas with all my visual controls. It's like like a design software, right? Like this is design software. This is made for creation. Whereas over here, I'm like, you know, just moving boxes around. And sure, it gets better, right? But even if we look at Elementor's interface, like I wanted to like, I don't know if the audio is going to come through on this. Let me see. I wanted to watch like the first 20 seconds of this just because. Yeah, let's see if y'all can hear that. Joe, can you hear that?
I can.
You cannot? I think the audience can. I want to hear like that.
Hey, this is Lewis from Oxygen, and in this video, I'm going to give you an overview of the Oxygen Visual Site Builder for WordPress. Now, Oxygen is the most flexible and powerful visual builder for WordPress in existence.
So he just said it's the most powerful and flexible visual builder for WordPress in existence.
Quick overview of the Oxygen interface so you can follow along with the video and understand where everything is. So to add elements to a page in Oxygen, you just click Add, and all your available builder elements are here. You got sections, divs, columns, heading, text. You got helper elements like pricing tables, testimonials. We have a design library.
Right. Yeah, even this video makes me like want to do, you know. I I wish we could go ahead.
Uh,
This
I keep, yeah, you go first.
I was gonna say
It's a
this is
totally
more like a
different topic.
Squarespace inside of this is more like taking a Squarespace style editor tool where you can kind of customize and move things and slide things around, but it's not like Webflow. People who tell you it's like Webflow, it's not like Webflow. You know, like let's see versus the competition what they say up here. Look, they're not right. They know there's not even a chance to put Webflow up here if they were really competing, right? And I do think at this certain level, this is Webflow's current competitor, right? Oxygen, Elementor, you know, these like these robust frameworks that do give you this flexibility in Oxygen, I do believe they're the true competitors. I don't think Webflow has the features to call themselves like a true competitor to WordPress yet because of how extensible WordPress is. But this is who I think they're really competing with right now. Once they get more of that feature parity, then they can go and take you know, a little bit more of that market share.
Question. I keep seeing people in the audience here saying Oxygen is like Webflow. Elementor is like Webflow. And I want to be extra clear here. It's like Webflow in building the front end page. I can't imagine that they have the same flow to connect that data, right? How beautiful is it when you're on a Webflow template page, you design what you want, and you click the text, and in the settings panel, you can bind that text to a field in the CMS. How would I do that here, right? I'm seeing this visual front end, but how does this relate to the back end, the CMS that I'm holding inside WordPress? I can't imagine that that's like Webflow.
I'm going to try to install Elementor here. So it's installing the plugin, activate it. I just want to take a look. So, okay, activated. Let's see, template Elementor. Okay. Style, integrations, advanced. This is, and this, again, I'm not, I have no idea what I'm doing here at this point. We're totally off script. Improved asset. So let's see if I go into my pages now. Let's just go see homepage. If I get a different experience here, edit with Elementor. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so let's, do I have to have this open to, yeah. Right, so this is like this is just a glorified version of the thing we're looking at here in my mind. You're still dealing with these little boxes and little containers that you get to move around. Where is that? You know, like.
And it just seems like all of those user interfaces that you were clicking into and clicking on.
They're just on the
sidebar
sidebar here.
Nice and organized here on the sidebar.
And I don't have, like, maybe I do have like nuanced style settings. What's that?
No rems.
No rems.
Remless.
Right. Padding. So again, look, you know, I'm adding padding here and just like exactly those interfaces that we were clicking into deeper, but now it's just on the sidebar here, you know. And again, I meet our custom CSS. Okay, so maybe you can add custom CSS, but I don't want to. I want to write the CSS in this panel. That's like the value proposition, I believe, you know. Site settings, theme builder.
I'd like to ask a question to the crowd. I keep seeing some comments saying Oxygen Builder is like Webflow. If you think this, please explain further, because I honestly want to know this. What is it like Webflow? Just give me a paragraph or two explanation of why Oxygen Builder is just like Webflow, so that we can talk about it, we can ask some more questions, and people can understand this.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's this one person who's saying that, but we can hear. Okay, so y'all could hear the video. Yeah. Can I just openly admit my complete Webflow bias and be done with it? Yeah. For sure. Not sure if this is still the case, but a lot of builders injected layout code into HTML content. So they exported, this is the short code stuff. So all of this stuff here, Penny brings up a really good point. All of this stuff here is being done with short codes. Let's see, I don't know if there's, there used to be a mode where I could like switch back and forth and see that. I don't know if I can do that anymore. I used to be able to go and see the short codes, but this is why I have not, what Penny is saying here, this is why this site has not been updated, right? This is why I have not touched this site, because of these short codes. There's no easy way for me to export this HTML, the CSS into any like useful form. check 1, 2. Hello, internet. Fuck. Control room. This room is claimed by somebody else. Nope, that's me. I'm the one claiming it. Yeah. All right. We're back, it looks like.
All right.
Ugh. It's just like the wildest thing for why that happens. It's like the WordPress gods are just out to get us today. I don't need to, yep. Hello, check 1, 2. Can you hear us?
I can't see anything.
Oh yeah, hang on.
I can't see it, so I'm gonna give a restart.
No, hang on, it's on me. There you go.
Nice.
Okay, so we're back. Whoops. WordPress said shh. Yeah, I don't know what's happened. It's like it says it's fine, but it's not fine. God damn it. Yep, there it goes. It looks like maybe it's back now. Okay. Looks like it's back now. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if it sticks for a second. Okay, New Mac Studio would be great. Yeah. Who said that? To come back to what Joe asked, Oxygen is the closest thing to Webflow. I think that's what most people mean, but for real, it's not even close, especially because of the UI. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Even if you could get close, like even this Elementor thing that we're looking at here, it's just not, it's not the game. You know, like that's not it. Once you go to, you know, once you get to Webflow and see that, and get that kind of access, like you just can't go back to that. Like let's see if we can do this. Let's get out of, let's see, how do we get out of here? Let's go to plugins and themes again. Where's my appearance? Themes. Oh, appearance, themes. And let's Oxygen. Let's see what happens if we try to, let's take a look at it if we can, you know? I'll add new. That's right, I gotta search for it first. Okay, Oxygen. I don't know if this is the Oxygen. Maybe it's got to go to plugins first. Add new. And this is one of those places where, like, you know, like let's look at all the different things that, you know, you can have here. But I wanted to point this out. Look, we got Classic Editor is one of their top plugins. So they want to roll back the Gutenberg thing. Apparently Gutenberg's supposed to be the best thing to hit WordPress since WordPress. And literally the 5 million active users, active installations have said, no, we want the Classic Editor back, which is, you know, what takes you away from that functionality. And then look at this rollback update feature plugin for testing automatic rollback, a plugin, like, you know, like, so two of the plugins they're featuring on the front page here are about rolling things back, or, you know, like going back to older versions of WordPress. So what are we looking for? Oxygen. Oxygen Tutor. Maybe you can't install it like this. Maybe you got to go through another way. Does anybody here? Oxygen is paid. You can't try it free. You can try it free on their site. Okay. So let's see. Get it now. Basic. Ultimate.
And we have, while you're doing this, I have a comment about Oxygen from Renee.
Mm-hmm.
Oxygen Builder has kind of the same UI like Webflow with Flexbox and Grid. Working with classes and divs are the same when using the Oxygen Builder and you disable the WordPress theme. So it kind of sounds like, you know, Oxygen it's really close to Webflow. What I'm now going to ask is what's different for all people that are using Oxygen? What about these two systems are different? You know, what makes Webflow better? Why are you on this stream? Why are you in the Webflow community? Let's get to that as well.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing a place to just try Oxygen. There we go. Blank install. Please enter the correct values. 6. Submit. The other page builders are more user-friendly. They don't work with classes and divs, right? Let's see. Michael Lee tried to build a stock photo website on WordPress with themes, Elementor, and plugins, but the site is so slow that now I'm trying to get the same functionality plugins offered, right, in Webflow. Even if that means stripping down the site and be able to do it at the beginning, right? Barry brings up a good point here. The plugin ecosystem is a huge place of vulnerability. I mean, look at this. Like, I have fast internet here. I don't know what this is taking like a long time to load. Should I try to like refresh here and see what happens? Maybe my math was wrong, right? 5 plus 1 is still 6, right?
I think so.
Let's see. Renee is saying, did you read my comment about oxygen theme?
Yeah, I read that above.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, please choose an installation type. Pre-made website. Okay, let's do that. Let's just go with a pre-made website. Let's not start from a clean. Atomic will be installed. Okay, confirm and install. Loading colors. All right. Making the logo bigger. And we're still inside of WordPress, right? So just to show, right, you still have the same CMS, you still have the same structure, right? Let's go into one of these pages and see how it's built. Let's see what's different. Okay, welcome to the block editor. So that seems very similar to what we have. Okay, edit with Oxygen. So this is trying to open Oxygen in their block editor. So what happens is, like these sites have to translate it back into WordPress. So even if it does give you a Webflow-ish experience here, all right, so I can take your business to new heights. I've got a header here. All right, image URL, let's see, advanced, background. Yeah, right. So I do have, some of those settings, all styles, size and spacing, padding. This is not like Webflow. Anybody out here who's saying like this is like Webflow is just not familiar with Webflow.
Frank makes a really good comment about this. You can access every CSS property way faster in Webflow, and this makes a big difference. Based on what I see here, I agree. It almost feels like these styles are inside folders or inside sections, when really we all love the Webflow styles panel, how we have everything that we need for styling right in that one single panel, no clicking through to different screens.
It's even confusing to get back here because I got all styles and then this is my breakpoints here. Okay, so here's my breakpoints. But it's weird because I want to keep going up here to like get back when I click on one of these. I want to keep clicking up here to like hide, and that's not the move. My styles are down here. Effects. Okay, so like let's see, like div columns. Okay, so I do have those, but where's my tree? Open and edit template. Right, like where's my navigator?
Structure.
Right,
maybe structure. Right, on the top, top right.
Structure.
Yeah.
Aha. Okay.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so columns, div number 44. Can I name this? Div block 240. Okay. Okay, so I can change that name there. Oh. Okay, so it is applying some kind of style there. Okay. So nav column. So but again, like what is this? 3231. Like what is this? New column 3231. Oh, so I can override a class name. Let's see, column. What if I just do that? Okay, so I can name it a class name if I want to do that. Okay, so I see what people are saying is like it's kind of. You can maybe drag this stuff around. I could see, listen, if I was in WordPress and I didn't know about Webflow, I could see where I would get into something like this and I would get lost building like, you could probably build some cool stuff. I wonder about like, again, the global nature of these classes. So maybe that's cool. I'd like to see, how can I bind the data, Do I need to have something in my post that maybe something more nuanced than I'm familiar with?
A nice comment from Riley comparing the two platforms. Riley says, when building in WordPress, you're still designing in WordPress within its flavor of theme files. No matter how many times it's abstracted, you are still inside of a theme, no matter how custom you make this feel.
Right.
And with Webflow, it's more of a blank web canvas where you determine what the system looks like. That's an interesting way to put it, right? You're starting from a theme, you're starting from a base, versus you're starting from absolutely nothing and you get to make that base.
Yeah, and Jay's saying the same thing there. It's like an overlay skin for WordPress, right?
Yeah.
From a sales perspective, what's the angle to convert a customer? Regardless of UI, clients are more familiar with WordPress, open source versus proprietary, too many plugins that clients struggle with. This is it. And this is where I think a lot of legacy companies, like let's say I was running a business on Raymmar.com, right? It would be such a chore to migrate that site to another platform that I would probably look for something like this to allow me to keep all the guts of what I have, but reskin it in a new theme, right? And so I don't know what the perspective is. I don't know how much like it would make sense. Like if I had to come to a company like Finsweet to rebuild Raymmar.com in Webflow, it would be astronomical. Like the pricing would just be, we saw hundreds and hundreds of pages there, you know, like there's so much, like literally it would just be a ridiculous cost, you know, for maybe for a big enterprise that would make sense. But like for most businesses who maybe have built a site over the couple years, maybe it doesn't make sense to start from scratch. You know, it doesn't make sense to change it. It makes more sense to start from scratch on a new project. Then you got to worry about mapping your, you know, your URLs and whatever. But
And Paul, you know, I think one of the best ways to figure out the answer to this question is to just ask. Whenever we have a person that comes over from WordPress, our first question is, what problems do you have with your site? What are you having trouble with? Is it a problem updating the site? Is it a problem changing this certain page? Is it a problem with your CMS? Usually that person will have at least one problem with WordPress. And once you hear that problem, then you can capitalize on a fix. And usually you can find a way for Webflow to be that fix. So ask, and then figure out how Webflow can go and help with that. I know at Finsweet, a lot of people that are on WordPress, they come from custom builds. That is almost all of our WordPress migration clients are on custom builds. And what they say is the content writers, the marketers, have a very hard time managing the project. And what they need is for any significant update past the already defined template system, they need a developer. And that's expensive. So they want a system where their marketers and content writers can truly manage the project. Easy, right? This is like the easiest thing that we can sell in Webflow. We have the editor, we have these symbols, we have Webflow University that shows you how to manage this platform, Webflow, not the 50,000 different ways that you can manage WordPress. So yeah, Paul, hopefully that helped a little bit. I like to think that it is, Webflow really helps us with this sale. Webflow gives us a lot to help those WordPress problems.
I wanted to see, I'm trying to like play with their classes here to see like if I recreate this element, is it going to recreate the class? Because some of these class names are just like div block
46
20, yeah, right, 26-231. What does that mean, right? Like, okay, so I
wonder how you create a global system out of this.
Right,
if you wanted a content card class.
It does look like they have. That's what I was wondering, if I duplicate this element, which I'm not sure how to do real easy here, could I like, is it going to give me the same classes again, or is it going to create new classes there? You know, like, is it going to 220, 23, 232 or something like that if I duplicate this? You know, that's the stuff I'd be interested to know if there's WordPress folk out there. I'm going to dive. I want to look at this because I don't know. I don't think back to WP. And so this can only ever be as good as the underlying tech. Same thing with Webflow right now, right? Why can't they, well, I want more than 10,000 items. Well, you know, the underlying tech doesn't allow it. And so we're seeing they have to rebuild some of that. Here, these plugins, these themes, these builders can only go past the underlying tech. And WordPress has to be backwards compatible, right? So like the stuff today, I saw a comment, somebody said, oh, is this a history lesson? Because maybe we're looking at like a, a couple years old type install. But yeah, WordPress has a lot of like sites that are just like that. You know, these legacy sites are exactly what you might expect to find if you just found somebody who, like me, was just scrapping sites together for a while as they learned to get into the space, you know? And so like you can only ever get as good as the underlying tech, which still leaves you connected or beholden to, like back to WordPress, back to the admin. Okay, leave. Let's not save any of these changes.
We have a question from Hans, he's now asked this question twice, so let's answer it for him. I build landing pages in Webflow. Am I disqualified from having a WordPress client if they don't want to switch to Webflow? What would be the disadvantages of linking from a WordPress site to the Webflow page?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds confusing. It sounds very complex. trying to link systems together, really regardless of any system, is usually not the simplest way to do it, right? I would prefer to either be completely in WordPress or completely in Webflow. So I wouldn't say you're disqualified from having a WordPress client, but I would encourage you to educate the WordPress client why Webflow is a better decision for them.
Right. Yeah, and let's just look. I want to go back to the site here, right? Back to my old site. This is a list of plugins. This is literally the list of plugins. If it's blue, it's currently active. If not, it was once active on this site. And let's just look at this, right? So like, okay, Media Temple Systems plugin, that was something I was using from from Media Temple. That was like a WordPress optimization thing. Advanced Post Manager, okay, not using it. Akismet anti-spam. One of the biggest things with WordPress is like there's lots of bots that go around and just crawl WordPress sites, and so this is something that WordPress forums will have to deal with at some point. Just the amount of like spam comments and spam like inputs, and so you got to start with that. You need some kind of form plugin. WordPress does not have forms natively. Auto optimize is like optimizing images and doing some of the stuff that Webflow's infrastructure does, right? So there's some of the Cloudflare, some of the Fastly, some of the AW, like some of that caching layer stuff. That's what that is. BB Press gives you like some social activity stuff, so you can have like a social network on side of WordPress, and so there's a lot of things that you can just add with one click to this. Classic Editor, we talked about that. That goes back to get you away from Gutenberg and goes to the classic WordPress interface. Search and replace functionality. So WordPress has some search and replace, but this is a better search and replace. Facebook setting. Let's see, you want to do events. You have to create like an events plugin. This is actually kind of cool because then you can connect it to WooCommerce. We haven't even talked about e-commerce, right? That's where WordPress, if there's a case to be made for it, it's on e-commerce. It's on complex user accounts, because you can set permissions and you can like have all sorts of users, and there's like a user infrastructure built in where people can log into the site. And so you can use that in interesting ways with like social plugins and forum plugins and all sorts of different things. And so like, that's one of the powers of this. It's going to be a long time before Webflow can compete with WordPress on the e-commerce side. But again, you need, lots of technical knowledge, and it gets very expensive to do some of that. Let's see, Gravity Forms, more Gravity Forms, MailChimp. So you can see here, like Gravity Forms is one plugin, but now if I want to use all these different things from Gravity Forms, I need a plugin for each one of those. And so that's kind of like, an attributes plug-on, an add-on, right? So each one of these is like doing one little thing on the site, but it adds a plugin, it adds complexity, it adds things that need to be updated. Let's see, Instagram, Intercom, okay, Jetpack. Jetpack is like just a bunch of stuff. There's just a ton, again, this is one of the things where this can kill your performance, if you have a bunch of these activated, but a lot of times you need a bunch of plugins. Like, I don't know that you could go into any scaled WordPress build that wasn't kind of customized, and maybe they built some of this plugin functionality into it natively, that doesn't have 10, 15, 20 plugins active on the site just to get all the different things you need. Let's see, Daniel saying WordPress seems like a Frankenstein system with so many different parts, plugins, and make it work the way you want. Yeah, 100%. Tanet, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Tanet, bring up.
Yeah, I was just going to say off topic, but how do you efficiently map a WordPress site to Webflow? We don't have a video on this. This is basically, you got to like map all the URLs, and then you create like a tree of what that site looks like. And then you have to either go rebuild that or do the 301 redirects, or you build it page for page and make sure all the URLs match. One of the things that WordPress gives you that Webflow doesn't is nuanced control over your URL structures. So if I came in here to settings and went to my permalinks, I have the ability to pick how I want, and so I can say I want it to use the post name, or I can create some custom structure or whatever. This is something I think Webflow really lacks in. This is something that I think WordPress is really strong at. And this is something that creates a limitation when you're coming from WordPress to Webflow, because you might have some custom URL structure that you can't match in Webflow super easy. And you maybe have to do some workarounds to get that to match. So any thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, that's a big drawback for a lot of people. However, I like to think that you can always make it work in WordPress.
Yeah.
In Webflow, sorry.
Yeah.
That Yeah, it's nice to be custom, and it may be difficult to migrate to Webflow, but I think if you're building a marketing site, you can work inside of that Webflow link system.
Nice. Nick Jones. Whoa, just saw the live notification. Yeah, nice. Okay, glad you found
Nice.
us. Renee, is this the one that you said you built? Okay. It's a small theme for Oxygen Builder and a fine community. They have big updates on the way, but it's a mini version of Webflow. WordPress have a lot of interactions. Integration, that's a good thing. That's it. I think if you need the integration and the added functionality you get with WordPress, that's when you get into it. That's when, you know, like if there's a feature that just you cannot get to some way with Webflow, or like it requires too much, you know, I don't know, things that just aren't supported. And I think really that's around e-commerce. It's around e-commerce and letting people log in and do things on the site. If I come in here and I go to my users, you know, like I can see all these different people that have different access, you know, contributor, subscriber, administrator, subscriber, participant, contributor, you know, like they have all these different roles, and I can even go in and like modify those roles and create new types of roles. I'm trying to remember where that is. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think we need to get into that, but you can nuance control, like what permission they have access to. Can they publish? Can they post? Can they submit a draft? Can they create a new page? Can they edit a page? Okay, so maybe they can edit, but they can't add a new page, right? So they can go in and edit certain pages. Can they update the SEO? That's one thing. Like you need a plugin for SEO in WordPress. There's no like native support for SEO, you know, and so you have to install a plugin that does that for you.